Hello, welcome or welcome back to Sapling Tarot. My name is Imogen. Today I'm going to be doing the very fun Tarot Through Movie Genres tag by the lovely Quinn at Lucid Moons. They tagged me, which is always super fun. So I'm thrilled to get into this. I will not be doing all the prompts. I don't have that many decks, and shoehorning decks to fit prompts never feels super good to me. So it will be a shorter video than some, but inevitably as you ramble on, so it probably won't even be that short. Other sort of like semi-disclaimer is, so far I've watched Quinn's video and Kelly Bear's video, and they both know a lot more about films than I do. I love films, which is, like hardly a controversial statement. I am far from a film buff. I'm not very up to date. I'm not very kind of cool with the films that I like. It used to be like a running joke at school that any film that you feel like everyone should have seen, I probably won't have done. Not because I'm like super cool and hipster or whatever. I just apparently haven't seen that many films compared to a lot of people. I didn't really grow up in a film household. I don't know. Anyway, that's my little disclaimer. I will try my best to talk about films for the prompts, but please forgive me if I fall woefully short, and I highly recommend you just go and watch Kelly and Quinn's videos, because they know much more than I do and have some great recommendations. I was taking notes through both videos. So that's a very, very rambly intro to Tarot Through Movie Genres. Number one is sci-fi, and the description for that is a deck that incorporates imaginative, speculative and or futuristic concepts. And I'm going to go quite like Route 1, maybe. I fear a lot of these are going to be quite Route 1. I think some of them might even be duplicates of other people's, but there we go. I only have, we only have like limited decks in our collection. My pick for sci-fi is the Voyager Tarot by James Wanless, and this is, it's a weird fucking deck. It screams science fiction to me. It's like one of the first collage decks, I think. He has a whole like system for it. It's got like, it's not quite world building, and like I wish I had a deck to talk about that was like better world building, but there's a really, you can see what I mean. You know what I mean, why I'm picking this one for sci-fi. There is something just like a bit weird and sci-fi about it. There's like all of these images all kind of chopped up, and there's something a bit like spacey about the whole thing. There's something very like galaxy universe about it, but then also it's got like quite a pointed view in terms of like the sort of speculative nature. Like it's sort of futuristic of its time. So when did this come out? I feel like it was the 90s, 80s. Okay, second edition, 1998, is my version, and yeah, I think that this feels pretty sci-fi to me. Science fiction films that I like are, I enjoyed Interstellar. I haven't watched it for a while because I have like, it was like a favourite film of mine and a partner's, so there's like those feelings mixed into it, but from what I can remember, that was great. The score is amazing. That is not an original thought. Many people believe that score is amazing. I think that counts as science fiction. I mean, it's very like realistic science fiction, like convincing science fiction, but I mean, it's still science fiction. Or is it? Jesus, I've been watching too much X-Files. I finally finished it, in case you were wondering. I watched every single episode. and both films. So there we go, there's some science fiction films. I watched both X-Files films recently, and they were, well, I suppose one of them is science fiction and the other one is weird. I don't know, like, are they kind of horror-ish? But yeah, so my deck pick is that, and I'm gonna go like Interstellar for the film choice. I also like The Martian, and I like that I get them both confused in my head. Matt Damon is in both of them. Matt Damon is generally quite forgettable, and so I forget which one is which. So yeah, so that's my... I feel like there were other cast members similar in those. I don't know things. Feel free to shout at me in the comments for when I make some like clanger mistakes about films in this video. So yeah, so that is my deck number 1, Sci-Fi Voyager, very straightforward. Right, deck number 2 is Romance. I very recently did the Taromance Tropes tag by the lovely Tarot Magpie, and so I had this deck out anyway, and it is the Goddess of Love Tarot. Again, we've gone very route 1. I did not say I was an original thinker. It lives in this absolutely gorgeous Kelly Bear pouch. This green and this pink together, and the little pink heart. So good, so good. This is the Goddess of Love Tarot by Gabriella Herstick. I trimmed mine. I don't want to talk about it. It's so lovely. The description for this is a deck that focuses on relationships or romantic love between people with an overall emotionally satisfying or optimistic tone. Now, I'd forgotten about that second bit. I think this definitely focuses on love. I'd say more specifically it kind of focuses on sex, but love and sex and love, it's all in there. Many of the goddesses or deities in this deck are goddesses of love and war, because humans. I think this deck is brilliant. I think it's a genius concept, really well executed. I can't believe that it was just like mass market. It feels very cool to be that, but then Gabriella Herstick is really cool and has published books previously, and so good on whoever published this for doing that. The guidebook's really fun. There's like rituals and stuff in there to do. It's a great time. Romance films, I will admit, the first one that springs to mind is bloody Love Actually, because I'm British and it is a very important film for us culturally. I know that people in it have died and other people have done some not so great things. It's a tricky one, but lovely film, some great cameos, what a cast. Otherwise, romance films, the thing is, this is where my memory is going to be a bigger issue actually than anything else, because apparently I don't really retain films. I went through a phase of watching rom-coms and I like, wow, the one with Ryan Reynolds, and believe me, it's a miracle I even remembered his name. With the 3 women, definitely, maybe, something like that. I've not watched that in a very long time. It's probably horrific now. But yeah, I used to like that one. Other romance films that I like, I quite like a bit of Katherine Heigl, 21 Dresses, etc. This is what people in my IRL life have to deal with, where I'm just like, oh, it's your man that was in that film with your one, and fuck knows what I'm talking about. I sure don't. So my romance film pick is going to be Love Actually, because it's the only one I can remember the bloody name of. Gorgeous deck. I love it. I hope everyone loves it. I think it's fab and very apt for this prompt. Okay, next prompt is mystery film. A deck that is mysterious, suspenseful, and doesn't reveal answers right away. Like solving a puzzle. So we're going to go with a deck that I thought was more mysterious than it actually is. This is the Ritual Tarot. If you watched my recent videos about this deck, you will know that I was very intimidated by it to begin with. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to figure out what the cards were without having labels on them, because I have the second edition, unmarked edition, with the, well, they're not plain backs, but they're backs that don't have the names of the things on. And so yeah, I didn't think that I would be able to read with it, and so I didn't try for ages, which is definitely the mentality to carry through life. I definitely recommend that. It's not as mysterious as I thought it would be. However, I still think it counts as a mystery deck because it strikes me as like ancient mysteries kind of stuff. There's history, there's geography, there's philosophy, there's all of these sort of big questions. And then also, on a more like literal sense, collage always feels like kind of a puzzle to me, because you can move the pieces around for ages and it just not look right, and then suddenly it fits together and you go, that's it. That's beautiful. And collage can look really shit really easily. These don't. I think these are absolutely gorgeous. And so TRMA absolutely solved the puzzle of making something aesthetically beautiful and also like emotionally a serious heavyweight. It's not as mysterious as I thought it was going to be, which is a relief. I can read with it. And the readings are, I mean, they're intense. They're a big time. You don't necessarily want to use it for like a quick, you know, one card pull or something. I tried to do that once and just got this card, and I was like, that feels very pointed. I won't try that again. So yeah, so this is my mystery deck. Mystery films. I enjoy the new Agatha Christie ones with Kenneth Branagh, although I think all of them have like horrifically problematic people in them now, particularly the second one, which I now actually cannot watch, which is a real shame. I probably wouldn't count those as like mystery films that I like. I also enjoyed, am I going to get to the point where I have to fucking Google mystery films? What other films do I like? I don't know, I can't think of films. I think this deck is a beautiful mystery. It's my pick for a mystery film. Right, number 6 is action. Loud, wild, spectacular imagery that might be overwhelming, but you love it anyway. Now that is my wheelhouse of films, because I'm trashy, and this is probably like, I'm not going to say it's a trashy deck, but it's absolutely, who's jumping out? Knight of Swords. Amazing. It's so like glam rock. Loud, wild, spectacular imagery. Yes. Overwhelming. Absolutely. This deck is the Gentle Thrills Tarot by Isa Beniston. Mass market deck by Hay House. It's very fun. The colours are ridiculous. Dare I say, obnoxious. The characters are bizarre. I went for this one more on the description for the prompt rather than that it feels like an action film to me. It was the like, yeah, loud, wild, spectacular, overwhelming thing. I love this deck. I think it's hilarious, which probably isn't what you'd be going for in an action film, although I'm a sucker for a good Jason Statham film. I think that they are hilarious. They're like borderline camp in how absurd and over the top they are. I think they're great. I also love all of the like Denzel Washington action films, Equalizer, etc, etc. Give me something with clear goodies and baddies so I can pretend that is the world that we live in. I don't love kind of a propaganda action film if we're really getting into it. But yeah, Jason Statham, any of the, like, I don't know, like Snatch and Layer Cake and things. Are they action films? They feel like, but then if they're not action films, what are they? I don't know. They're great. They are silly, and I try not to think too deeply about them, and the misogynistic Bechdel test failingness of it all. But I just, you know, for an hour and a half, 2 hours, you can just exist in a world where the good guys are good guys and the bad guys are bad guys, and that is as far as it goes. I like silly explosions and car chases and gadgets and stunts and well choreographed fight scenes. I don't know, this deck doesn't feel like a well choreographed fight scene. It just feels like, what's that one? Speed or Crash? Crash. This deck feels like Crash, the one where he has to like keep doing things to keep Guest's adrenaline up, otherwise he'll die. I love that. Excellent. I want, yeah, you can't decelerate the bus, otherwise everyone will die. You have to keep getting your adrenaline up or everyone will die. Any of that absolutely bananas stuff. Sign me the fuck up. I know that a lot of people watch kind of rom-com type things to decompress and relax and stuff. They give me too many feelings. I'm not above rom-coms. It's not that I'm like, not like one of those girls kind of things. They give me too many feelings. I don't want feelings. I want you to tell me that I have to keep running around doing mad stunts, otherwise everyone will die. That's what I want, to decompress. I'm not saying it makes sense. It's just how I am. So yeah, the Gentle Thrills Tarot by Isa Beniston. Hay House, mass market, lovely deck, ridiculous deck for action movie. Okay, so the next prompt is fantasy film. I have chosen possibly the ugliest deck backs in my collection. No, that's not fair. I don't love them though. The Magic Tarot by Amaya Arazola. The description for this is transports you to an imaginary world of magic with mystical creatures or the supernatural. Say no more. The Fournier decks are super weird. This is very similar to the Tarot del Fuego and yet its own mysterious, bizarre thing. It's very much a fantasy realm. You've got like anthropomorphized people, you've got, I don't know, people from all sorts of walks of life, all sorts of shapes and sizes. You've got dragons, you've got horses with boobs, I don't know. It's super weird. That's basically all I can say. It feels like someone took drugs and made a tarot deck, and I am so into it. What else can I say? Fantasy films. I truthfully am not a big fantasy film person, it would appear. I've done more in the way of fantasy TV programmes, Game of Thrones, etc, etc. I love a dragon, I love any of that kind of stuff. I actually can't think off the top of my head what fantasy films I would recommend. I know that I'm probably missing something huge, and if you know me, you may well be shouting at the screen that there's something really obvious. I don't know. Ooh, I liked Miss Peregrine's thingy. House of Peculiar Children. That was pretty good. What else is fantasy? So many of my favourite fantasy films have been ruined either by the people who were in them or created them that I'm genuinely like really struggling to think of any that I want to talk about, which is very sad. What are your favourite fantasy films? Please tell me. I would love to watch some more fantasy films and just get all kind of wrapped up in the weirdness of it all. No, I'm really struggling. I think this is a really fun deck. I think it's a great like fantasy world. The colours are ridiculous. The characters are ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. I love it. Okay, prompt number... I did miss 2 already, so technically it's prompt number 8. It is comedy. the explanation being humorous or makes you laugh. I have chosen Sapling Tarot, very new to my collection, still in order. I think this deck is really funny. I find this artist's artwork generally very pleasing visually, but mostly I find it funny. Of course, none of the particularly funny cards are going to jump out. There we go, Kitchen Disco Hermit Crab. We love him. We love him. Although he does look a bit sad. I hope he's not sad. The absurdist, surreal thing that goes on in this deck is so much fun. It's a bit of a tricky, like, tarot deck, specifically. But the artwork is beautiful. I mean, I don't want to call them jokes because they're not jokes, but they're just like funny little kind of quips in them. I say holding this card, that's not funny particularly, but it's, yeah, every wing, every hair all at once. Very silly, very fun. Everyone's an ass bucket except you. Very silly, very fun. In terms of comedy films that I like, I am struggling to think of ones that aren't horrifically problematic now. Legally Blonde holds up. Love Legally Blonde. Is it Reese Witherspoon's best film? Probably. Is it the best film of everyone in that film? Also, probably. I hope that there isn't something problematic about it that I'm overlooking. I think it holds up quite well. Also, Mrs. Doubtfire, I think is kind of okay. I watched it rewatched it a few years ago, and I think it's alright. I mean, he's like, you know, he's not a great dad and stuff like that, but it's not like problematic in the way that you would assume that it would be in this day and age. But yeah, there's two. Yeah, there's two. That's fine. House above, Sow below. Perfect. 10 out of 10 joke. Yeah, it's silly, it's fun. I don't watch an awful lot of comedy films, if I'm honest. I don't know if it's like a kind of pathological demand avoidance thing, but like, I don't like being told to laugh. I'm such a dick. Such a dick. But I have a very silly sense of humour, kind of wordplay-ish sense of humour. I love a pun. You know, I'm a dad long before my time. I just, yeah, zoomies, comedy. I loves it. In terms of like watching comedy, I would be much more inclined to like watch a stand-up comedy special or some like old British comedy. So like I grew up on Blackadder and Monty Python and Fawlty Towers and Fry and Laurie and stuff like that, and so like that would be my like direct line to my funny bone kind of thing. Okay, drama, more serious, focuses on conflicts. I've chosen Outgrow Yourself by Atkas Barman. I don't know, I don't think it necessarily focuses on conflicts. It's also not like the most serious because it's sort of a bit snarky or like sarky, or you know, one of those arkies, with its little kind of quips. But it does feel like probably one of my more serious decks. I love it though, and I feel like it always meets me where I'm at. It'll bring me up if I'm feeling down, or like it kind of helps me regulate. It's like a good friend like that. It's a good person to talk to, etc. Drama films, I am kind of struggling to think in my brains about what that actually means and about what films I like would be considered dramas. Okay, so dramas, and this is entirely inspired by looking around for environmental cues to prompt me to think of things. So on my bookshelf, I enjoy things like, and I'm really struggling with like the definition of drama, more serious, focused on conflict. I'm gonna go with like films that are generally like misunderstood, such as Fight Club. I like Fight Club for what it is, in terms of the deconstruction of toxic masculinity and capitalism, etc., etc. I don't like it for what it became, and the idea that there's a whole generation of men out there who idolise the characters in it. That's not so fun. Same with, again, this is going from my bookshelf, The Virgin Suicides. A great film. I don't love that there's like a great story and like the point is really interesting, but like I don't love that it became this whole thing of, I was a Tumblr kid. I remember the romanticisations of films like that. The romanticisation of fucking Lolita and all of that gross bullshit. So I don't love that. And then I suppose on that topic, the like drama film that I watched recently that I liked, I watched Poor Things, and I thought that was really great. I also read the book recently. I think it's really interesting. I see what it's trying to do and I like it. I don't love some of the discourse around it. It makes me a bit uncomfortable. But I think it's pretty cool. And then like another one recently was All of Us Strangers, which chewed me up and spat me out, quite frankly. I shouldn't have watched it while I was on my period. I was an absolute wreck for days after watching that. It was a very powerful film. It was great. But yeah, I mean, it's like I was saying about the action films. Don't talk to me about relationships when I'm trying to relax. My feelings get too much too quickly. And those films, that film was a lot. So yeah, I really struggled to think of a film for this one, but there you go. There's some. I think apparently my taste in drama films, which feels like such a weird thing to say, leans to the, I mean, I wouldn't say they're necessarily like controversial films, but like ones that have discourse around them. As with all of these prompts, please give me recommendations. I really enjoy watching films. It's that like Netflix effect thing of too many options, and so I just end up rewatching TV series instead, or watching whole series of things so that I don't have to make a decision for weeks at a time. But yeah, please do give me recommendations. This may well be an insight into my taste in films. It also equally could not be. So, next one is documentary. Depict real people, animals, or events. And this is a fun one because I got to choose The Queer Tarot by Ash and Chess. A mass market deck, a queer deck, a very fun deck, a clone of the Smith Waite. But all of these people are real. Great, there's no person in that one. Every person in this deck is based on real queer people. And that's not grammar, Imogen. Every person in this deck is based on a real queer person. Yeah, so these are all real people. I don't know if they like modelled for it or what, but yeah, they are real queer people from around the world, and I think that is amazing. So that was a very fun thing to get to talk about, and I don't know what's going on with these cards. But yeah, it's such a fun deck. The colours are amazing. I think it's very cool. I'm really glad that it exists. I love all of these people. I think they're all beautiful. I don't know off the top of my head who all of these people are, because I haven't scrutinised the guidebook, because if I knew who they were, I would think I would find that distracting when reading with it. So I recommend looking it up yourself. And if you have the book, the guidebook is, if you have the deck, the guidebook is great. But yeah, just for my own style of reading, I don't know exactly who they all are, but I do recognise some of them from the community online, which is very cool. So for documentary, a deck that depicts real people, animals or events, I choose the Queer Tarot. Also look at these yummy dance floor packs. Okay, the next prompt is animated films. Bright, expressive imagery, potentially childlike. I am pretty sure this is the deck that Quinn showed in their video. It is the Tarot of the Divine. Yoshi Yoshitani's artwork makes me so happy. There is something a little bit Disney to it, to the way that some of the characters are drawn. So that kind of made this like quite an obvious pick for me. Also, there's like stories and fairy tales and stuff in all of these cards, so it kind of makes sense to me for that to be more like animated. I don't know what the logic is there, don't ask me, but yeah, I think that this deck is gorgeous. It's the deck that I use most often, I guess, because it's the one that I mainly use for client readings. I think it's amazing. In terms of films that I like that are animated, like the whole Ghibli, Miyazaki back catalogue, particularly Kiki's Delivery Service. Now there's a comfort film. I want like a montage of all of the food scenes in all of Miyazaki's films. I just think that they are fab. I also enjoy, I haven't seen the film of Nimona, but I do have the graphic novel, and that's very, very cool. And Disney-wise, I mean, The Princess and the Frog, what film, what music. I mean, like, Disney music in general is pretty great, like, going all the way back. It's the music that gets stuck in my head most of the time. I've always got, like, Be Our Guest or any of the music from Aladdin, Prince Ali, etc. Obviously Disney is like a tricky old company, but those are like my childhood films, and so I suppose they bear mentioning. Make a Man Out of You is almost always stuck in my head. Is that what that's called? It's a difficulty. I don't know the names of these songs, I just know the words excessively. But yeah, they were my faves when I was little, and I think this deck is brilliant. That's my pick for animated films. Bright, expressive, maybe a little bit childlike. I think we could all do with a bit more of that in our lives. Okay, we are kind of getting into the home stretch. I'm so sorry that I've been rambling on so much. And this wasn't even all the prompts, can you believe it? Okay, Western films. Decks with a spirit of exploration and adventure. So I thought that I would use this as an opportunity to throw cards everywhere. To show you the newest deck in my collection. This was a vintage find that I'm so happy with. It is Tarot of the Crystal World by Brooke Penrose, and she's a beauty. I put it back into order just when it arrived to make sure there were all the cards. But yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but there is something a bit like Western Plains. It's the cowboy hats. That's what it is. I am so root one that it is literally that there's a number of people wearing cowboy hats, and therefore this is a Western deck. I think it's like a little bit post-apocalyptic kind of thing. There's like, I don't know, is that Joan of Arc or something? Like it's very weird. But yeah, there's people wearing cowboy hats in it, and therefore it's Western. I nearly chose the Spacious Tarot because of like the kind of wide open plains sort of idea, but then ended up going for this one. I don't know any Western films, really. I enjoyed Westworld, the TV series, and that is as close as I'm going to get a thing. I couldn't tell you if I've actually ever watched a Western film. There was Cowboys and Aliens. There was True Grit. I watched those. Or I watched that god-awful Lone Ranger film. In the cinema, no less. What's that? Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp in one film? Well. We should have known then. I'm sure people did know then. I was like a young teenager. I didn't know yet. But dear God, okay. I know that like my granddad really liked Western films. He used to quote them a fair bit. It's literally the cowboy hats. Wow. Yeah, I watched, again, not a TV series, but no, it is a TV series, it's not a film, Yellowstone last year, and got well into it. Very much want to be a cowboy now. I mean, I don't, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting. It was better than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, so Tarot of the Crystal World for a Western film deck. And then final prompt, we got that. It's only been nearly an hour. So black and white, a black and white deck or a vintage deck. So I have chosen my oldest deck. It's not oldest to me, but it is the deck that has existed for the longest. And it is the Itella deck. Mine is beat to fuck. It's very cool. Wow. These cards are so warped. Is that my fault? Were they like this before? Dear God. Yeah, it's super weird. I don't really know how to read with it yet. But it's very old. My understanding of Itella is scant. But I think it's like one of the first tarot was divination decks. I was reading The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. I think I'm correct. And this is the deck that they use in that. It's a fiction book that just kind of happens to sort of be about tarot, and I think it's really interesting. I would be inclined to get like a modern version of it, mostly because this deck is old as fuck. And like it smells funny, there's stains on it and stuff, and it's, yeah, I don't know, it feels kind of weird to use it, but it's very cool. It's a system that I'm like interested in learning. So yeah, this deck is very old. It's definitely vintage. It is not black and white. I did think about pulling out a black and white deck, but I only have one black and white deck and it's an oracle deck. So that is my vintage Itella. If you know anything about editions of decks, do let me know. Because, like, I don't know. Yeah, and that's it. That is the prompt. I know that Kelly added disaster movies or like dystopian movies and musicals. I love a bit of a musical. I love Moulin Rouge or Chicago or Rent, or there's probably tons of other ones that I like because they're camp as fuck. And Rocky Horror Picture Show, What a Dream. Did Kelly pick Priscilla Queen of the Desert as a Western film? Because yes, absolutely, 10 out of 10. I put my stamp of approval on that being the only spirit of exploration and adventure film that anyone needs to watch ever. Yeah, like I love those. So I mean, I could, for a musical deck, I could go Tarot de Carlotides, because there are people in it that look like old movie stars, and I can kind of imagine some of these cards breaking out into song. Some of them. Anyway, this is a very tenuous, kind of off the cuff. They could be breaking into song. So could he. More like maybe opera than anything. But yeah, and then like disaster movie, dystopian, I don't really have anything. The closest I would have would be the Squid Cake Marseille, because those people are kind of zombies. But yeah, so that's us done. I've kept you long enough. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please leave me a like. You could even maybe subscribe if that would make you happy. I hope you're taking really good care of yourself. Please leave me film recommendations in the comments. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.